Hi Desiree. Hope your tournament is going well this week. I don't know how you balance all the things that you do and still have time to practice, but I'm glad that you practice because everything continues to just get better and better each week, and it's awesome. So this week is no exception. We'll start with the theory. Theory is perfect. You did a great job with identifying the major and the minor key signatures there on that page. We're going to move on this week to pages 48 and 49. Now, if you look at them in your book, here they are. It's really just listing out a bunch of terms, definitions, and symbols, okay? And then reminding you of what those definitions are or what the symbols mean. And then at the bottom of each page, they just kind of have you reviewing that information and filling in the blanks, okay? So it's nothing too crazy. They give you all the information at the top, and then you just kind of not match, but fill in the definitions and everything at the bottom. It should be pretty straightforward. The first page is just going over our dynamic signs, right, which we've had for quite a while now. Second page, there might be some more words that you're not quite as familiar with. Some of them we've definitely seen before, like allegro, right? So even if you don't necessarily remember immediately what that means, it should at least look familiar. And then some of them will probably be brand new, like con moto or lento. Some of those terms might not look familiar at all. And that's okay, because they kind of are just introducing you to them here, and then they'll have you fill in the definitions, and off you go. So we'll do both of those pages for next time. Let's go over the E scale next. Awesome start on that. Looks great for both hands. All the right fingering, all of those sharps are in there looking really good. So for this week, we're gonna go ahead and put that hands together. Now the big thing to remember with that, I know you usually do just fine on the scales without any big issues, but just to help you as you go into this week, make sure that you're always lining up your third fingers in each hand. Those should always be playing together at the same time. So if you have 3 playing in one hand but not in the other hand, one of them is not right, okay? So that's kind of a good way to check yourself as you're going through it at home. And then the other thing is you want to make sure that you're playing with the tips of your fingers. I noticed on this recording, and it could just be, you know, one of those random things, but just to make sure that this is happening in your practice too, when you're playing, you want to make sure that your fingers are not kind of flattening out like this, so that I'm playing more on the pad of my finger. Instead, you want to make sure that you're playing more on the tip. Doesn't mean like this. We don't want this weird, awkward, contorted hand shape, right? But we do want to make sure that the point of contact with the key is that tip of the finger, not more of a flattened pad like this. So that may mean that, and this didn't look like, I didn't notice at least. I don't think there's an issue with the fingernails, but definitely you'll notice if you're playing with your fingertips and your nails are just a little bit on the long side, you'll get a little bit of that clickety clackety thing going on too. So that may be something that you want to take a quick look at, but I think that you looked perfectly fine on the video clips. Just want to make sure that when we're playing, that point of contact is the fingertip, right? Not more of a flattened finger pad approach, okay? Otherwise, we're looking perfect there. So then Romanian Rhapsody is sounding awesome. You did a wonderful job fixing everything that we went over in last week's video. So we've got the repeats going on. We've got the whole thing hands together. Very nice job with that. And we fixed the left hand beautifully on that last line. For this week, you just want to make sure that your right hand, again, this could have just been a one-off for this recording, but on the very last measure, your right hand does have to shift up. I know you have the same interval and the same fingering between your last 2 measures. So you're starting with, let's see, the G and the E, right? And the second to last measure. And then in the last measure, we have to move up to A and F for the right hand. So just make sure that you double check that, and everything else, yeah, was super good. The other thing that I want us to start working on with this one this week is we're going to start looking more at our tempo, because your rhythm is fabulous. So now that we've got all of our notes, our fingering, our rhythm, all of that is locked down great, the next thing we want to do is make sure that we're getting this to the right speed. So our beginning introduction section is marked as andante, which means we want to be at least about 76, which sounds like this. Okay. Now we're just a little bit under that tempo right now, not by a lot, but it would sound a little bit more like this at 76 for your intro section. Okay, so you can hear just a little bit more movement to it at a slightly faster speed. That's what I want us to start moving towards for this week. Doesn't mean you have to practice with the metronome, doesn't mean it has to be exactly that speed, but we do want to start paying attention to how we can speed it up a little bit. Now, it may actually be really helpful to you to practice with the metronome. It'll be a way to at least get that speed in your head before you start playing. So I would definitely recommend listening to it, even if you don't try and play along with it every time. Make sure you hear what 76 sounds like, so that way you have kind of a reference point as you work on that. We can also start trying to apply that to our A section as well. Now, if you notice, we actually have a tempo change on the A section. We go from andante to allegretto, which means a little fast. So our A section, that main part of the song in the middle that we repeat, that's going to actually feel a little bit faster than the beginning and the end. Our intro and our coda are going to feel just a little bit slower. We're not going to worry too much about that for right now. Instead, we're just going to keep shooting for this 76 tempo, and that's 76 beats per minute. So that's all that's telling you. But if we can get closer to that, then it should be pretty easy to maybe try and speed up that middle section just a little bit more so we can hear a difference there. But we want to shoot for this first so that we at least are getting to our slowest tempo all the way through and getting comfy with that. Okay, so that is that for that one. That. Okay, very good. Let's go on to Amazing Grace, which sounded great on Monday at the workshop and sounds great in your recording too. So we will go ahead and move forward now with that, the change that I mentioned last week. So we're going to be getting rid of our melody completely, and the left hand is going to be playing just bass notes, and the right hand is going to take over playing the chords. So for example, when you start and you just have the F chords written in, your left hand is just going to play F. That's it. And then when you have the C chord, your left hand will just play C. And then when you have the D minor chord, you'll just play the D. So you're only playing those letter names for the bass notes, okay? And then remember, the one chord that's a little bit different is towards the end when you have that F/C. That's where you'll play the second letter, not the first one. So you'll play a C there instead of an F, okay? The rest of the time, you just have to play whatever the name of the chord is, that's your note, okay? So that's what your left hand is doing. Your right hand is going to take over the chords, and this will be the same approach that we have been using for the left hand. It's just that now your right hand is going to be playing chords instead. So start that hands alone this week. If you get to a point where you're pretty comfortable with it and you want to try it together, go for it. If not, that is totally okay. I'm not really expecting you to get to that point this week. We'll take a look at it next time and maybe be able to start putting that together, but we really want to have a strong foundation with each hand doing this new part here first. So I'd much rather you focus on getting each hand feeling comfortable, and then we can always put it together when you come in next week or even after that. Honestly, there's no rush with this. Like I said, it's much more important to get each hand really, really secure first. So that's what we'll be doing with that one. And then we have the up and touch. I guess I don't need this out here anymore. Okay, don't fall. Here we go. So our up and touch is looking great. You did an awesome job with the arpeggio. I know that's a little bit of a stretch and a little trickier getting all four of those notes in there with that up and in technique and that motion. You did an excellent job, especially I think the clip was mirrored, so I think it was your right hand that was really, really looking comfortable with that movement across the arpeggio. Your left hand was good too. It just looked a little bit more natural for your right hand, I think. So excellent job with that. We're gonna go in a different direction this week, and we're gonna try it hands together, which means we're gonna simplify what we're actually doing. So if we're up in the challenge with one aspect, we're gonna simplify in another, right? So we're gonna just go back to pentascales, okay? Just the first 5 notes. We're gonna do them in F and G. So you do have a B flat for your F pentascale, right? You want F, G, A, B flat, and C. And then your G pentascale will be all the natural white keys, okay? But we're just gonna go back to that combination in 2s because we're gonna do it hands together. So you'll have F to G, G to A to B flat. That's how you'll go about it for this week, and we'll try it out hands together. Again, you can go as fast or slow as feels best to you. Don't go too fast, but I think it's absolutely no problem if you're comfortable keeping that on the slow side since we're putting both hands together. I think you'll do a pretty good job with it though. So give it a try this week, see how it goes. If you run into any issues with that, we can always go through it together next lesson. And I think that is it. We're still going to hold off on starting a new Hanon. I think we'll probably do that next week. But especially if you've got like a tournament and stuff going on this week, I think we've got a good amount of stuff already going on without adding anything new. And then next week, just to give you the heads up, we'll also be kind of deciding what we want to do for the spring recital. So if you, I think you were feeling ready for it the last time around, but it just wasn't working out with the soccer schedule. So if you want to maybe double check the soccer schedule this week and make sure that our recital day is free, if you're still interested in jumping in on this one, I think you would do a fantastic job. And it's still a fairly small group of people because the studio is split between younger students and older students. So the audience size wouldn't be, too crazy. I think it would be a lot of fun. So I think you have plenty of pieces that would be a good recital option if you want to start maybe thinking about that this week and deciding what might be a comfortable piece to play or what you would really enjoy playing. If that all works out, we can talk more about that more next time. Sorry, I totally just lost my train of thought mid-sentence. And we will try and decide for sure which piece or which pieces you would want to do in next week's lesson for that. So that way we can have a few weeks to just really focus on that and getting that comfortable, performance ready, all of that good stuff. So you don't have to decide on the pieces or anything right now. Just kind of have that in the back of your head because we'll definitely talk about that next week. And it's up to you as well how many you would like to do. If you'd like to just get started with one song, that's totally okay. If you would like to do 2 or 3, we should have plenty of time for that. So it really just is up to you on what would be a good fit, okay? So you can be thinking about that. I think that is everything, and I will see you next week.